I was sitting in the barber chair not long after another instance of a black man being killed in police violence and riots and looting that were happening. And the barber was talking about how difficult it is to believe the experience of black people, that harassment is going on so often because it just doesn't happen for the police who are so nice and helpful. And that really is the white experience. And it's been mine too. So many times that I've interacted with the police on my own have been cordial and simple and not at all scary. But that hasn't been every time. Especially if I've interacted with the police around poor folk or black folk, the experience has been very different. And while it shouldn't take a white voice for white people to believe these stories, for some it does. And so I feel like I need to share mine. One interaction during seminary, I volunteered at the Kansas City Urban Youth Center downtown in Kansas City, and we worked with teenagers and kids, largely African American, after school. One day, I was walking with a group of 4 or 5 kids, maybe 10 to 13 years old, and we were going from the youth center building just down the street, not 200 yards, to a church where we were doing some additional programming. We hadn't gotten 50 feet from the door of the building, walking down the sidewalk, when a police car came up real fast and stopped quickly at the curb, and the police officer jumped out. Instantly, all the boys who had been laughing and joking and running around, they stopped immediately, and their eyes went down to the ground, and they said nothing. And the police officer came out already asking loudly, "What are you doing? Why are you around here? What's going on?" And those kinds of questions, when we had been doing nothing. You know, it was 3 o'clock on a sunny afternoon in the middle of the week. I was there, and I stood between him and the boys, and I explained what was happening, and I had to do it 3 or 4 times before the police officer finally gave up and got back in the car and drove off. We were doing the exact thing that almost anyone would want. We were providing after school mentoring and educational help, tutoring for kids who are in difficult situations. And I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't been there. It was a real eye-opening moment for me. It's completely unexplainable based on my experience, but it certainly allows me to believe the experience of others. A second instance happened in Indianapolis. Also, while I was in seminary, I worked for the Church of the Nazarene for our headquarters, and we had our big every 4-year general conference in Indianapolis. And I was working the conference, which meant I was doing long hours in the exhibit hall. And it was about midnight or so one night, and I was super hungry, and nothing was open except the Steak and Shake, which was just mobbed with people. And so I decided to walk a few blocks out of downtown to find a White Castle. And I grabbed a bag full of burgers and fries, and I started to walk back to my hotel. And pretty quickly, a homeless guy came up and was walking along with me. He was just asking really about the conference. He didn't ask me for anything at all, the whole time, in fact. Just asking why we were there and what was going on, and I was explaining to him who the church was and what I was doing there, and we just talked. And once we got back to the parking lot of the hotel, all of a sudden this police car came in with the lights flashing, and again, like before, the police officer jumped out and started yelling at the man next to me, saying, "How dare you bother these people? How dare you beg for things?" And I had to step again in between the police officer and this homeless African American man and say, listen, we've just been talking. He hasn't asked me for anything." And the man said, "Oh no, he's bothering you. He's bothering people." And I said, no. In fact, I'm going to give him money to get breakfast. And then, of course, the police officer started yelling at me. "You shouldn't be doing that sort of thing. You shouldn't be encouraging this. These people don't belong here." And it was so sad. And it took a long time for him to get back in the car. And as I woke up at 6 o'clock to head back to the exhibit hall the next morning, I saw the paddy wagon sitting out there, and they were marching the homeless people in to get them away from the convention center. Those are my experiences that are in line with what I hear from my black and brown friends who have experienced this all the time. There is a racial injustice in the way we do policing in this country. And I know a fair number of police officers. Almost all of them are fine people. They're the kind of people you would want to be police officers. And so it's hard to reconcile sort of my private relationships with those people, with those experiences that I've shared and the experiences of so many others in the country. And so I can only conclude that it is the system itself, the training, the expectations, the assumptions that we give to police officers that needs reform. If you have a machine that produces products and some of those products come out faulty, you have two choices. You can fix each and every individual faulty product as it comes out of the machine, or you can go back and fix the machine so it produces the product you want in the end. If we are putting good people into police training, the kind of people we want to be police officers, and I think we are in large part, but we're not getting the kind of policing we want or we need or we deserve, we have to rethink that process. We need to stop dividing the world into good guys and bad guys, because if all you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like nails. If your job is to protect people from bad guys, everyone looks like a bad guy. You're looking for bad guys everywhere. And we have hundreds of years of conditioning that lead us to assume black guys are bad guys. Police are important, but the way we do policing isn't working. It's harder for white people to see that because our society is so segregated and we enjoy the benefit of the doubt. But at this time, more than any, we need to listen to the experience of those who are in different circumstances. And we need to figure out how to make the changes to the system that need to be made. These are not isolated incidents. These are problems in the machine, and the machine needs to be fixed. I don't know what I have to contribute, but I know these stories have helped other white people understand the situation before, and I hope they will again. We need help, and we need to do something now.